just because we didn't have a lot of time in the studio, I had already thought about these songs, already wrote parts where I'm like, notes like here's where the sitar comes in, or here's where this comes in, or here's where that. Um, so we didn't have a lot of like messing around in the studio. But there were obviously some suggestions like, hey, try this guitar, or what if I do this part? And I try to let each one be themselves, you know what I mean? Too, within, I said, here's the structure, here's this. The reason I'm having Ed is not to play exactly what I think they should play. I'm having Ed because he's Ed. And it's like, Ed, do your thing. I kept telling him, do
It's
your
awesome.
thing.
Hey, this is S. Patrick Brooks with the Heavy Underground Farm Report, man. I got Patrick Brink here today. I am super stoked from Volume. Volume just released a new album that's blowing people's minds all over the place, man. I freaking love it. So, hey, let's just jump in. Patrick, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Oh, yeah, man. I appreciate you asking me to do this. I'm always down to do interviews and stuff. So,
Heck yeah, man. Well, thank you. Your new album, Bud, like it was just released in November, and it's already showing up on people's top 10 lists for their albums of the year for 2024. It's like, I mean, I don't know if that means anything to you
oh
or
no, of course. When you write music, it's all you do it first and foremost for your own self psyche. But I mean, it's always great when other people are digging it and liking it. So I mean, yeah, that's what keeps us going. So
did you expect such a, I mean, maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but did you expect such a positive, response? Because it's overwhelming. Like, man, like this album hit and people are like, it's 1998 all over again. It's like, this is, and in the best possible way. So,
I'm like, I mean, obviously, I wrote the music. I'm into it. I think it's killer. I think if people give it a chance, they will dig it. So, on one sense, I was like, I'm like, if just given the chance, I know people will dig this. And um, but then another sense, I was like, seeing people say, no, this is the killer album or this and that. That was taking me by surprise, and I really was surprised when Magnet Magazine voted us number 5 of the top heavy rock albums. It beat out Slamosa and High on Fire, and I was like, wow, that was pretty shocking.
that's high praise and well deserved, man. I mean, I
Thanks,
love the
thanks.
album. For me, it's really, I don't know if you purposely do this when you're writing, but it's like a throwback kind of tribute to exactly the kind of music that got me into the desert and heavy underground scene. Are you doing that? Is that a conscious decision that you're making, or do you just making what's coming from your heart?
Let me close the door.
Yeah, no worries, bud.
I got these little doggies that like to bark all the time at the most unopportune times.
I got 2 dachshunds. I totally understand. No worries.
Oh yeah. No, when I write, I don't consciously think like I'm trying to write like this certain thing. There might be times where I'm saying I might want to write like a more psychedelic song or a trippy song, but never like this type of genre song or anything like that. And that's just how I write. That's just from the influences that I have come out like that. I'm a big Stooges fan, MC5, early Monster Magnet, all that. So
Yeah, it really comes through. Tell me, you talked. You guys mentioned the psychedelic thing a lot. The heavy psych sound, the psychedelic thing. Is there a reason why you did? It's some experimentation on your part, perhaps, or driving that, or is like when I'm out in the desert, man, it's almost psychedelic without drugs in a way.
oh, it
So
is. It is. It is. I grew up out in the desert, and I've lived other places, but pretty much 90% of my life has been out here in the desert. I keep, coming back to this place. I could move out. Like I moved up to Idaho back in 2000, came back a year later, and I've been back in the desert for the last 5 years.
what do you
Um,
think it is about the desert that draws you back?
Oh man, it's tranquil. You know, it's mellow. It's like you could see the stars. It's like at this point in my life, it's something that feels like home. You know what I mean? And so I mean, I was born out here in the desert, and you know, spent my um, growing up as a kid in high school, being in the first band out here in the desert. So there's it's got a cool vibe. It's a lot of uh, uh, there's a lot of influences there that to draw from, and it's killer out here. You know you get the extreme heat sometimes that sucks, but I mean,
Man, I can't even imagine being from Denver. Hey, so tell me, it's interesting that you talk about the peace and the tranquility in the desert. But your music is, I mean, it's peaceful to
unpeaceful.
me, I guess, like in a way because I like that music, but your music is heavy and there's a punk element to it that can be abrasive in a good way. Um, it's interesting that you go to a tranquil place to create the music that you do. Do you think that there's some kind of weird dichotomy there at work or something?
Oh, I'm sure there is. And it's like, you can't be in chaos all the time. It's like, you might feel like it sometimes inside, and that's where the music comes out and stuff. But I I would go crazy living in like LA. Like I lived in Orange County, which is next to LA, but like LA's a whole nother beast. And I, go there to visit, see shows and stuff, but that's just too much chaos for me. Like I let the chaos inside of me come out through the music and stuff, but I don't want to live in it. You know what I mean? That's part of the whole catharsis of like of getting that stuff out. You want to release that stuff. And you're living in the big city, you don't get any release from that stuff.
Man, I love that answer. That's super interesting to me. Yeah, guess I never really thought about that way. That's cool. And so, do you think at some point you need a break from that tranquility then of the desert, and you'd like going on tour to me would be like where you would experience
Oh,
that part of your life, and so you
oh
guys were
yeah,
just
yeah.
on
It's
tour. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, no, definitely. You don't, I mean, um, just living mellow all the time. It's great for most of the time, but you want to get out, you want to kind of let loose and stuff like that. And, but, the tour, nothing crazy went on the tour, um, but, we had fun. We met a lot of cool people, played some cool shows, and, you know, um, it was fun. Played every single night, and some had better crowds than others and stuff. But playing this type of music, it's always hit and miss. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me, man. So your album that you recorded, you use a variety of musicians. You use a super interesting producer. Tell me about the thought process that went into picking and having people like Ed Mundell play and Mike Amster play. Um, how did that happen for you guys? Because I think you tour with a different group of people. Like
we
you're,
do.
yeah.
We have like a live band that, if everything works out, which it looks like, um, I already got two more albums of material written, and so hopefully at some point this year we could go in and record another album,
Oh
and
hell
it
yeah.
will be with the guys that we're touring with and playing live right now, and maybe some guest musicians on there, throw in, because every record I've had somebody like the last our first record, we had Scott Reeder from Fu Manchu play the drums on that, and then I had my friend who was in Final Conflict, which was a pretty big hardcore band in the '80s.
I've
They're still around. The bass player from that played on a couple different things. So, um, yeah, I like to. It's fun to have other people come in and play and add their little touches to it and stuff. But how he fell into this? Well, first of all, I wanted Dave Catching to produce it for a long time. The first record that when we recorded Requesting Permission to Land, we were actually scheduled to have Dave produce it and record it at Rancho de la Luna. But um some things changed, and I ended up staying in with this one guy had been recording some other stuff with us, some singles and different stuff like that. So I just stayed there. But so I said, well, this time I'm going to actually go there. So I hit up Dave, and he's like, yeah, he dug the music, and he's like, come on, let's set a date. And these other two musicians that we were playing with, we played two live shows, and the guitarist quit, and he just thought we were too loud, and he didn't like. He wanted to, it was just weird. I'm like, why'd you get in a band called Volume? And like,
Dude, it's in the name.
I know, but we get that. I get that a lot. And so he quit, and I was going to get rid of the drummer anyways because he never wanted to play shows. He only wanted to do like a show a month, and like they were turning down shows left and right. We were getting offers, and they're like, "No, I don't want that. I'm too busy," and this and that. So when the guitarist quit, I got rid of the drummer. Just said, this is a good time. I'm looking for people that actually want to go out and tour, get on the road, do a lot of stuff. And so I'd been talking to Ed Mandel over email, and he was going to come see our show one time and this and that. And I just said, hey, man, I'm going to throw this out at you, and you can tell me to bug off or what. But hey, would you, I have studio time already booked. Would you mind coming in and playing on the record? And he said yes. And I was like floored. And he's like, this will be fun. And he's like, he's never recorded with Dave Catching, so that was another thing he wanted to do.
Cool, man.
And Mike, the drummer, we have a mutual friend, Ryan, who used to do Stoned and Dusted. He used to put on shows, and he put on he's the manager for Spirit Mother, and
Okay.
he's friends with Mike Amster. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you know if Mike's doing anything right now? Because that guy's busy as all get up. He's like the James Brown of rock.
Right on.
Like he just joined Brant Bjork Trio, and he was in the
Oh,
Spoonbitters. Yeah, so he's all over the place.
all right. Wow.
Yeah, so Ryan contacted Mike, and Mike listened to the stuff, and he's like, "Yo, he dug it," so he jumped on board and stuff like that. So that's how that came about. But like Ed, he's gonna play a few shows with us here and there. We just played at the end of November, and he played live with us. So
How
it's like three
special.
guitars. But like, yeah, he just doesn't. He's been there, done that. He's toured the world in tour buses. He doesn't want to get in a van. What I mean? I don't blame him. He's been there. You know what I mean?
So,
So
but you do want to get in the van, man, and so I think
you
that's.
have to get in the van. I mean, I would love to be in a tour bus and doing big shows. You know what I mean? But
But tell me, man, like, so are you still absolutely driven to do that? Is that what, like, Bud, you are like, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how old you are, but I'm 57, and I cannot even imagine getting in a tour van and driving around the country. Like, I don't, like, where do you get the energy, Bud, man? Like, are like,
I think I was born with energy.
yeah, you're shifting gears really quick. Not sorry, that's a tour bus like segue there. But your networking skills are pretty amazing. How do you like? What do you, how do you know all these guys? Is it just for being in the scene forever? Like you're like, I just think it's really cool that you're like the kind of person that like Ed wants to come and play on your album and stuff. And how do you think why do you think that's happening in your life? I mean, I think that's cool.
um, Well, I've been around for a long time. I took a hiatus, but like, I know a lot of people from back in the day. We played a lot of shows with a lot of cool bands like Queens of the Stone Age, Acid King, Macedon. Like we used to we played the fest that they had back then, the Stoner Hands of Doom, the Missions of the Monolith. So like I met a lot of people through that. And back then they had one like stoner rock page for the most part. There's a couple, but the main one was stonerrock.com, and I met a lot of people through that, and they're still around in the scene. And so I think that, and people dig the music, and so they want to jump on board with it if it's something they dig. I mean, that's just kind of natural. So
Do you think there's something about this scene, the stoner rock scene, that has allowed bands to not be so ego driven. I like the way I see bands interact in this scene. Bands watch other bands sets and they do what you're doing. They interact with the other bands and they're willing to do split albums. And what do you think it is about this scene that has allowed this camaraderie to exist that maybe I didn't notice in some of the other scenes that I've been involved with in the past?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some scenes that they're, more in it for themselves and stuff, but I think it's just by the nature of the beast that, if it if we don't have each other, we don't have nothing. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like if want people to be at my show, I need to stick around for the bands that are playing after us or before us. I try to do that. Like every time we were on tour or anytime show I'm playing, I make sure I watch all the bands. I get up front. I take pictures for them so I can send them pictures afterwards. I try to do that, and because I'm hoping people stick around and watch us and um, check it out. So I try to be courteous that way.
Yeah, I see that. I see that happen all the time, and it was really something that I already loved the music, but then it made me want to be more involved in the scene because you know, I saw people being cool to each other, and that's like it doesn't happen all the time, and I think that's cool that you were like so actively involved in that. So I know that people on the scene appreciate you for that. So thanks, man. So tell me, Bud, I love the new album. Do you have a favorite? Do you personally have a favorite track on that album?
Um, they're
It,
all so personal, though. You know what I mean? So um, for different reasons. Writing each one is, just digging deep inside and writing them. It's like hard to say which one I like better. I rather listen to what people say because like certain things I think like I think I do well at kind of like standing outside of myself and saying this one might grab people's attention more or not, but sometimes I'm wrong. And like there's certain songs I think like, oh, they'll like this one because it's got this catchy riff, and then they're like, oh, I like this one better. So um but like as far
okay.
as if I had to pick one song though, just because um it was probably the fastest song I wrote and it was for my wife is Space Baby. So
It's which one? I'm so sorry.
Space Baby. I
All
wrote
right.
that for my wife. She came in one time after shopping at a thrift store,
Ah,
and
okay. Yeah. It's the last song on the album, right?
yeah, she was wearing some sparkly silver boots, and she's like, "What?" She walked in front of me. She's like, "What do you think of these?" I was like, "You look like a space baby," and then it just kind of clicked, and I sat down and wrote the song really quick.
That's great. So, are you just prepared to write a song like, shit, man, I'm writing a song right now? Like, does it
Um,
just come to you like that, or do you, or is that that was just some kind of a special moment?
um,
I mean, I
yeah,
know it was a special moment, but
yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah, they just come to me. I can't, most of the time, if I sit down and say I'm going to try to write a song, nothing happens. But if I'm noodling around and practicing, I get bored really quick. And so, I got ADHD. And so if, instead of practicing, I end up, messing with riffs. And then that's how I write, but I never really sit down and say, I'm going to write a song. And so they just kind of come out. And then nowadays it's real easy. You got the phone and I
yeah,
just record it real quick so I don't forget it.
that's cool. Tell me about the writing process for this album. You use a lot of different musicians, and like David Ketching plays. There's a lot of synthesizer and some other atmospheric sounds on the album that maybe aren't traditional, 3 piece, 4 piece rock band sounds. How are you like telling those guys what to do, or are they coming to you and saying, "Hey, what would like fit in cool here"? How does that process work?
Well, most when we got together, I had to be considerate of everybody's time. So we didn't have like days of practicing. We got to practice one time together. We went in there, like they practiced, each one practiced on their own, obviously, but they're so good. Mike and Abe and Ed, they don't even need to practice. They would still sound great on the album.
Right,
But
sure.
yeah, but we actually only practiced one time together as all together. And then
Wow.
the following week we came in. So um I pretty much, just because we didn't have a lot of time in the studio, I had already thought about these songs, already wrote parts where I'm like, notes like here's where the sitar comes in, or here's where this comes in, or here's where that. Um, so we didn't have a lot of like messing around in the studio. But there were obviously some suggestions like, hey, try this guitar, or what if I do this part? And I tried to let each one be themselves, I mean, too. Within, I said, here's the structure, here's this. The reason I'm having Ed is not to play exactly what I think they should play. I'm having Ed because he's Ed. And it's like, Ed, do your thing. I kept telling him, do
It's
your
awesome.
thing. Excuse me.
So
And
yeah,
so that's how that went.
man, I love that because, as you check your ego and let people create, like you guys created brilliant art, and, that's like, that's pretty mature to be able to like get out of the way and let people have control like that, man. It's
Yeah,
like,
well,
I think about like nightmare stories like Steely Dan taking like 27 days to record some solo
yeah,
on or something. It's like, that's so unlike the kind of music that I listen to. One of the things I read that you actually sent me talked about early in 98 when you guys were recording your first stuff. You guys are doing this, you're doing your recordings on 1 and 2 takes, to retain a very organic feel. Is that how you recorded this as well?
yeah. Space Baby was actually the bulk of the song. The basic tracks were all recorded. We did one take and kept it. And there was a couple overdubs, like, but for the most part, like we did the vocal overdubs. We did the backing vocals, and all that. But the main four piece of it, the lead, all that, the main part was all in one take. And I was like, they're like, should we do another take? I was like, that sounded great to me. And so let's just keep it. And so, yeah.
Is there something in you that, like, what is it about? Like, because a lot of people could not do that, Patrick. Like, what is it inside of you that allows you to, like, let, like, that's like, there's a freedom associated with that, with what you're doing, and confidence. Like, like, do you consciously think about that?
No, but I mean, like, geez, when we played it, I was like, man, that was amazing. These guys, I'm watching these guys. The whole time I was like a fanboy going, man, I'm surrounded by all these great musicians and producer. And so I was like, that killed it. That was awesome. So like, why let's do some other stuff. You know what I mean? So um it's not conscious. It was just I just thought it was so good. Why beat a dead horse when it was already, we killed it.
I love it, man. That's, I like, to me, that's rock. That's rock and roll right there. Like, that's got to translate really well when you guys play live. Then for you to have that trust in your fellow musicians and stuff, does that make your live shows more fun for you?
Yeah, it does. And we've only had one train wreck so far, which isn't too bad. You
I'm
know,
sure you're exaggerating. I'm sure
no, it
there
was a
is no
train
train
wreck.
wreck.
It was a train wreck. We after the third song, we started getting better, but um, it only been like the third show, um, as with the full, like with the new guitars and all that and stuff. So um, it was kind of, and they didn't have like the drummer couldn't hear what I was playing, and like they try to follow me a lot, and I keep telling the drummer, no, don't follow me. Everybody needs to follow you. You just remember the song and we'll follow you, because if anyone gets lost, if you're golden, then the rest of us can jump back on. So don't follow me.
That's
You know?
cool, man. Once again, like, that checking of your ego, that's, like, I think that's so indicative of what's important about that scene. It's like, like, like one of the things I like, and your album does this too, is when you mix vocals, a lot of the times in this genre, they are like another instrument. They don't ride too high up on the top, and like the vocals are another instrument that shares equality. Does that make any sense? Like, am I just, but like,
No,
is that like something you're conscious of too?
no, yeah, that's very conscious because um, I it just makes the record heavier and a little rawer when you have the vocals just barely above the rest of the music. When like I mean, I guess if I was like um I don't know like Rob Halford or something, you know what I mean, that's a lot more melodic or whatever, then you're gonna want that up there. But you know, I mean, I I'm just a singer. I'm not a vocalist. You know what I mean? I just
You
you know
are,
what I
you're
mean?
a good vocalist, man. You're
Yeah.
good. The vocals on your album are tremendous, and so are all the other instruments. But tell me, so you've got the album out. You guys did some tours. I know you have a show coming up that I'm excited about because I love the guitar player and singer Shadow Jupiter. I love them all. I love all you guys, but I've had conversations with those guys. You're playing a show in Chicago at Reggie's.
Yeah,
Which
that's one of the dates on our tour. We're almost got that thing finished all booked up. There's a couple dates we're working on, but then once we get it all buttoned up, and I'm hoping in the next couple weeks, we're gonna do a like an official announcement,
cool.
hopefully by February 1st. I got somebody doing the artwork for the tour poster and all that, and so yeah.
Did you
So we're
mention the Denver show?
yeah, we're playing Denver. Yeah. Um
You're playing the Crypt, I believe, on May 18th.
yeah, you know who's gonna play? Who just got a hold of me the other day? Lunasoul.
Oh, fuck me to cheers. That's awesome, man. So yeah, I saw Lunasol about 2 weeks ago, and I'm gonna go out to Vegas and see him at the end of this month. And I
Oh,
love,
to
I
the
fucking
planet.
love those. Hey guys, I hope you're watching. I love you guys. They're awesome. Just an awesome band for one thing, and really, really awesome people for another.
Yeah, Dave,
So
I've only talked to him through the email, and he seems like a really chill dude.
dude,
So
he's the nicest guy. I mean, he's really, yeah, man. That's so badass. I'm super excited about that, man. Well, hell yeah. Well, Patrick, but I appreciate you taking the time, man. And like, this is the kind of end of the show thing where, like, if you want to like say hi to your mom or like, or
my
you know,
mom's
like,
dead.
I'm so sorry, man. Or your
No, it's all
dogs.
good.
That
Yeah, just
oh
messing with
fuck, I
you.
can't believe I said that.
No, she
She's
died 10 years ago,
I'm
but
sorry. But
I was
dude,
just
if you
trying to
just
make it
want to give
awkward,
anybody a
just
shout
messing
out or
around.
say anything, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But no, no shout out. Just want to say thanks to everybody who's taken the time to watch this and listens to our music, bought merch, and it all that. You know, thanks. It's without the fans, we're nothing. So
Man, well, thanks for the music, but I know that we're like the Heavy Underground is super excited about your album. It's amazing, and I know I can't wait to see you guys. And man, it's cool that like that the longevity that you've had in the scene, Patrick, and that you just keep it real, man. You keep bringing it back to like where it started, and I know that lots of us really appreciate that
well, thanks.
your dedication to the art and to this music because it means a lot to a lot of us.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on here.
All right, buddy. Hey, I'm gonna let everybody else go. Patrick, if you could hang on for 1 second.
All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for tuning into the Heavy Underground Farm Report. I was super happy to have Patrick from Volume. So thank you. All right, talk to y'all soon. Hey, bud. That
Yeah.
that was so
Yeah!